was I? So I think I was talking about every day you do have to face the fear. Um, and also you need to do something to improve yourself every day. Yeah, and then I think we stopped.
That's it. So we'll move on to the next question. We've covered loads of really good ground.
Mhm.
So what's the biggest misconception about the consulting industry and working in that industry, do you think?
Um, the biggest misconception would be that clients would be quite difficult. I think I had that scary client picture or imagination in my head that they will be very judgmental and you need to look perfect. I mean, because I think traditionally consulting company had to always look perfect and had to deliver what client wants and meeting their expectations. And we do still have this horror story of like 20s long time ago client being really difficult and shouting at them, and it used to happen to all our senior managers, and I think it is true, but now actually it's becoming quite different. They are more polite and they are not just unreasonable, they do ask their reasonable what they have paid for, basically our company. uh, so my misconception was you have to look perfect. You shouldn't share your feelings, especially. So if you're going through difficulties in your life, if you sometimes, let's say you're moving house, right? And you were really tired and you wouldn't say that to clients because, okay, so if had I said that to client, they'll say my performance wouldn't be as good as it should be. So all this was, I think, the biggest misconception. When I actually opened what's actually going on in my personal life, that time is the time actually my client actually started trusting me, and
Mm.
there was more personal approach rather than perfect consultant approach. And I think there was a biggest misconception that I realized that at the beginning of 3 months I looked always perfect, so I would like full makeup, nice slick clothes and shoes, and you'd go to work. But at some point, I think I was really tired because my client is very far away from me. So like 2 hours away, I need to travel in the morning, and that journey was really difficult. And I think at some point, I kind of broke down that my eyes were very teary that day because the train was getting cancelled, and I had woken up from 4:30 a.m. just to reach the work at 9 a.m. So you could imagine that all the time that I've been wasting, and I have been wasting like that as long as the train is getting cancelled. I didn't say anything to them, but at one day I think I opened it up to them that this is what I'm going through every day. It's really difficult. And my client said, some days you don't have to come to the office and you can work from home, and which was true. But I think me being like trying to be the most hardworking person in the company was always coming early and always trying to come every single day. But I think our business as usual is more like coming 4 days, 3 to 4 days to client side, and one day working from home. But I was trying to come every day, and obviously during this COVID lockdown time, it's a little bit different. Yeah, when I opened that up, my client was more understanding, and they used to ask me, "Oh, how was the journey every morning?" And it was really nice. Now we don't talk about that because we just always talk online. Now that kind of a bond is gone, but I that's the time I realized that actually they want to hear more about me, and also them thinking that we are always perfect doesn't help them to understand me more and doesn't help me build relationship as well. So I think misconception from me and also misconception from my client how I'm like, because maybe the way I look maybe look perfect but I am maybe not. So I think that was the biggest misconception I had, and now I don't have. And and yeah, and people sometimes misunderstand that to come to Accenture that you gotta be very technical, because we are technology consulting company. But I should say that we take students from any uh, like any faculties, so you don't have to be a STEM student. You can be law student like me, or any a sociology student, that you can still come to company. So I think what Accenture is really good at is their training. So as long as you get in the company, you will get prerequisite training to be a business analyst, and from then on you'd learn, acquire more skills, and yeah, that would grow, and you will grow as a professional. But um, I should say that consulting company, anyone can literally apply if they were interested in. And even consulting company themselves want to always have the diversity. So anyone should be able to apply, I think, to consulting company, unless you want it to be like a developer or accountant or certified accountant, certified tax advisor. Unless you want to become like that, if you are not sure about what exactly you want to do and want to explore more, consulting company is fantastic, because we have clients literally everywhere. So any brand that you might be able to see, we have delivered. And that is the strength in working in consulting company, because there's so many choices for you, and it sometimes feel like still you're at university, because you also have societies in the company, and you have friends, you make friends like that way with people who has similar interests. And that's the misconception that outsiders might have. Oh, without studying business administration, you cannot get in. That is totally wrong, I would say. If you are at the stage of still looking for the things that you want to do, I think our company is actually quite good for them to apply for. Yeah. Especially consulting companies are like that, I think, mostly. Not just our company, but any other company like EY, their consulting department is really strong as well. So our company, any other consulting company, regardless of what you study, you can apply it. And I would say comparatively it's quite easier than other company to get in if you didn't have specialty. So I think it's better for you, I think, to apply consulting company for anyone, just to try together with other applications that you want to make. You need to always include applications for consulting firms. That's what I'm thinking, always, because there are vast opportunities that you can get. And yeah, and then in the meantime, while you're there, you'll be able to find what you really want to do. And then in the meantime, you will also be more professional, and you have more experience, and people will like it because you had worked in that consulting company, and you will now have reputation behind you. So yeah, there's such a misconception that when people think, oh, I'm not gonna apply that consulting company because I have nothing related to it. That's wrong, I think. I think, a bit like that. I think it was you who said apply for consulting company and take your time what you actually like to do. And yeah, you can still make your life choice out of it, which I think I am doing it right now. So after 2 years, I've been looking back my career journey, and still I had a dream that I wanted to achieve back then, which I couldn't forget. And hence why I'm still studying, actually, because yeah, I want to continue and finish what it will be like had I followed my dream. And opportunity that Accenture given me is giving me that bandwidth for me to explore and then also work and stay in the UK, like many other international students maybe wish to do. Yeah, it helped me do that actually. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, there's two things that you said. First of all, the similarity in all the interviews that I've spoken about. When I've gotten to this question, all the ladies so far have basically said the same thing, that you don't need to come from a specific background to do what they're doing. And also that they didn't have a very kind of easy journey, that it wasn't a very obvious choice to get there. And the other thing is really about, we all have aspirations and dreams and the things that we'd like to do, but sometimes we just can't do them right now. We've got a more immediate priority in front of us, which is, how can I find a job and stay in the UK? You know, once you get your foot in the door, it's much easier to begin looking at different options, and like you were sharing. But if you're trying to do that all at the same time, I would say most of the time that's basically impossible, and you're not going to do it all. Because it's some dreams, you know, we're not saying no to them. We're just saying, just not yet. We're just saying, look, we need to do a little bit more work. And now you've got a great job. You're also studying on the side, so still working hard. But the opportunities that are given to you at Accenture allow you to build upon that foundation and do other things.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Had I not given that advice, I wouldn't believe I'll be able to be here, because you are at that point, you are very narrow-minded. All you want is do what you want to do. So for example, that time was I want to get into law firm. I don't want to go anywhere else except law firm. I was very narrow-minded, and only when I reached the point where I could get career advice, then I realized, oh, there are companies that I could also apply on the side. And I would say that literally changed my life. If I hadn't done that, where would I be? I'd have been back in Korea. You never know. And that small little thing that you did has changed my life. And it is so true that you maybe shouldn't put everything in one basket. And because I hadn't done that, and I think I could get into Accenture, and it turned out to be the biggest blessing I ever had, even professionally, because the way they treat the employees is so good, and they're always quite supportive. And the people in there are the people who make difference to me, not just the company, but people who I work with. They are extremely friendly, and I should say, really, I didn't expect this one. And from the thing that I didn't expect anything at all from, became the biggest blessing in my life, and biggest blessing in my professional life. And hence why I really think everyone should or must try the consulting company if they are targeting like investment companies like JP Morgan and Barclays. I think I applied there as well, actually. And if you are applying those firms, you must apply Accenture. Like, you must apply all these big four, because one of them will want you, and they will want you badly. Like, but you cannot figure that out unless you apply it. So that's where I think career coach comes in, because it is hard and long, enduring process to do all that. And sometimes it's very hard burden for one person to do that by themselves. It's extremely difficult. And you need someone who had done that and seen people succeed, and who could tell you that people do succeed, and who are closing the process. I think that's what's needed and what's actually missing for a long time. And it will be not there for a while, unless there is always another option. Because the advice that we get from university is always not enough. It's like almost having a lottery. You sometimes meet really good career advisor, and you sometimes meet someone who really don't care you at all, and that can change your course of your life journey at really critical time. And I think that's why I wanted to do this interview as well, because you need some person to talk to you about their experience, and you need a bridge. And as you know, I think you support that gap that people do not know what we went through, and now we're here. The only way they can contact us is LinkedIn. Like if they see international people who have in good position or in a good company, the only way is through LinkedIn. But how easy is that to actually get to a person on LinkedIn? I still actually do it, but you do need a bridge. You do need a channel to communicate and connect people. And if there's some other person like me who want to advise or mentor students, and I think there should be a channel to do that. And I do really want to help us, a person definitely in my position. And I'm sure, I think I talked to another student which you wanted me to give some advice, who applied for Accenture, and then she got a job as well. And that experience was actually great. And for the fact that the happiness you get by helping other people as well, it's great. I think that's why this channel is really important. I think to share the experience and to listen to people what actually they've been through, and they have to exactly what you have been doing, and then we've been there, and it hasn't been easy at all. And I think they should be shared, that experience. I think must be shared, so that people get some more encouragement and they keep going through in difficult time, especially during COVID. The time is really difficult for companies as well as applicants. Yeah, so I think it's really necessary, and then this channel has come in at the right time, actually, at the right point. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Lauren, for your kind words. So, if we continue on talking about the consulting industry, what would you say are your three most important skills, or the skills that you see, the three best skills that you see demonstrated in really good consultants that you work with?
Would you want me to focus on what kind of skill that got me a job, or how I thrive in the job after
I suppose more it would be about how you thrive in that job now that you're in that environment.
Okay, if that's the case, I think the best skill that I want to talk about is the ability to learn on the go, and how quick actually you can learn, and how dedicated you are. I think even when I get into this consulting company, you have to make kind of application if you have finished your project. So every time you finish your project, which could be 6 months to 2 years, you have to make another application for another role. So the biggest factor that they look at when they get another person into their new project is how fast they can learn and how dedicated are they. And that has been always the factor that the lead of that project want to take you or not. And because we have so many technologies that we use, we need a person who can learn just on the spot, not a person who is scared to learn. And for me, I'm always, as you know me, Mike, I'm quite passionate person. So if I had liked that technology, I will put my soul and heart and my time to learn the technology and be good at it. And I think that was the reason why I could be in this data quality analyst position, because I have told the person who was recruiting me to the project that I am passionate in learning and I'm passionate in this technology. And I think I convinced that person, hence why I'm in this position for now 6 months. If I hadn't convinced him with what I can do, what I'm capable of, I think he wouldn't get me. And there are still many situations in the company where if you can approve yourself that you can learn quickly and that you have the dedication, the person will think twice about you. Why you even want to be in our position, in our project, and that is the factor that you should always focus on and trying to sell yourself about. I think at some point it could sound like a cliche, because one of the factors that always consulting companies looking for is how fast can you learn, or how did you deliver the thing that you didn't know at all before. How can you prove that you did that? And that still goes on even after you get hired in the company, and that shows your passion, that shows your dedication, and it's something that you'll be always asked for, because technology is moving fast, and without you adapting it, you wouldn't be able to survive it as a business, as a person, or as an applicant. You have to show them you're learning new skills, even if you didn't acquire it yet. And then how you can learn, how can you achieve it, or how fast can you be certified of certain skills. That is always the strength if you have it, or if you can prove it even. I remember my career counselor in the company said, it's not about actually what you do, it's about how you describe that you can do it. So above the things that you know that you can do it, you must be able to describe that you can do it. And also, that's another point. So if you think that's your strength, that you can learn quickly on the go, you must be able to know how to explain this one, because it's all about verbal communication, since we are now using always audio and Microsoft Teams. It's more about verbally how you can explain, or in writing, how can you explain that, because we have something called one pager. It's like a CV. It needs to be updated, it needs to be sent to the project that you want to get in. So plus the factor that you can learn quickly, you must be able to explain that you can learn quickly. And I think that should always come hand in hand, because without it, you know it, but other people will never know it. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And what tips would you give someone who's trying to break into consulting, who wants to find out more about it? What tips would you give that person, that student?
I should say that you must ask questions to people that who are in the company already. So the biggest, easiest thing, and maybe the scariest thing you can do, is to directly message them on LinkedIn, because actually, more than you know, people are kind enough to reply you back. I still, but that's the scariest thing to do. Maybe it's because it's the easiest thing to do. You must ask them, if you know it, or if you can find out your connection who are in the company, you must able to connect to them and talk to them, maybe at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even corresponding using emails, something like that. You must ask the questions. If you have something in your heart that you want to ask, you must ask. You shouldn't keep it to yourself, and you should be more brave to ask those questions, because otherwise you regret without asking those questions, and you could be somewhere that you always thought you wanted, but you feel quite empty about that choice that you made, because had you asked the question 2 years back in that time, you could have been in the better place. And I don't understand that everyone is so busy getting good grades, and you have to apply for so many companies, and you have to also get some advice from Careers Employability Center. There's so many things you should be doing, but if you're quite passionate in the company you want to get into, you do have to approach the people in there. You need to ask questions, and that's really important, because the student that you asked me to speak to, if she didn't actually ask me any questions, she wouldn't be able to put my name that she knew me. Then recruiter would have said, oh, she doesn't know anyone, she didn't approach anyone, maybe she's not keen. And any course of anything that in that course of getting a job could impact it. So it could be difficult, but if you have some connection, I think you should use that connection to ask some questions about experience, and then share your fear if you had any. And if obviously they have coach as good as you, they're very lucky. But if they didn't have anything, I think the best thing they should do is really message them directly. I think that's why LinkedIn is really powerful, and it should be used that way more and more. But I know it can be very scary. But yeah, you should do it. You should reach out to them and ask questions, especially when you can't now actually see them in person. So there's no more recruitment events. There's no more networking physically where you can build a personal relationship. That's lacking. So I think like it's coming more important tool to connect to people in the firm and do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's often really surprising how, whenever, for example, for myself personally, if I get emails or I get a request to speak on the phone, if I have the time, I'm always happy to do it. I'm always happy to give somebody my time and explain stuff to them and say, and I would say, what's the problem that you're having? What's going on? What are you doing? Because personally, I just enjoy helping people. I find it really, it's just good karma. And like you said, there are lots of people, yourself included, who are actually really willing to help someone who's brave enough. I mean, they're not going to go and seek you out, but if you just send them a message and you can, I think through LinkedIn Premium, you can have like a 30-day trial, so you don't have to pay any money. So if that was me, I just go on LinkedIn Premium and then I'd just go absolutely nuts. I'd write out a really nice template email, just saying, for example, saying, if you don't have any time, please don't feel you have to reply to me. I'm just trying to reach out because I'd really like to work at this company. I'm trying to connect with somebody who may have just 5 minutes just to answer 1 or 2 questions. I'm happy to speak to you whenever you're ready. Come and have coffee with you wherever you are and do whatever I need to do to make it easy as possible for you to speak to me. That way, that person kind of thinks, oh, they're super considerate, they're really nice, not just kind of sending a message like, can I have a job? Will you give me a job? It's like, no, of course I won't give you a job.
Yeah, there's way too direct.
Why are you sending, you're just sending and really thinking about it. And then I would just type in Accenture and I would just be messaging. I would literally just sit down for a day and I'd say, dear Lauren, dear Stephen, dear David, sending the same message over and over. I guarantee you, because most people won't do this, but I guarantee you send out 100 messages like that, someone's going to reply. Someone's going to go, oh yeah, Mike, of course. Like, yeah, no worries. What do you want to know? Because somebody, and you'd be really surprised because you don't know who it is. And it's always just about, being really thoughtful, being empathetic about that person. Because that person is like you're saying, Lauren, you're really busy. So I need to be empathetic to your needs and think, right, Lauren's going to be really busy. So I have to write this in a way. And what I'll do in this video is I will, I'll have a template in the description that someone can download just to bash it out. And then you get to speak to that person and you're exactly right. That's gold. That's what you want. You want to speak to that person. They're going to say, oh, Lauren, do this, but don't do this. And how are you going to do this? And, oh, you want to speak to this person. It's always networking and making connections is always going to be the easiest of the way.
I should emphasize, or I can emphasize enough how important that is, because it's the most direct and the best way to get experience and testimonials of how they felt about their company from the person inside. And I think I understand that you don't know what the person is like until you go and connect to them. So the assumption that we make, or misconception that we make, that they might be so busy and they cannot talk to you, it might be true. Actually, it does turn out to be true, I think 80% of the time. And from my experience, I approached my legal department or contract management department or internship opportunity, anything like that. And most of them have turned out to be very busy, and I would say that's true, and that is not their fault. They must be extremely busy working in a company where there are so many contracts. But you will get one person who will listen to you. So obviously it's the law of average. The more you try out, the more person that you'll be able to reach out. But I think obviously that shows how much you actually want it, even to yourself. If you were passionate enough to work in here and stay here longer, then you'd put all that effort in. But if you hadn't done that, you're talking to yourself, do I actually want it? Do I actually want to stay here? Do I secretly want to go back to your home country? I think it's something that everyone knows it. Everyone knows what they want. So if they're not really serious about it, and for example, if you had advised that student, why don't you just message the person on LinkedIn? Why don't you just try? So if she didn't do it after a week or after a month, you could imagine that what you'd have thought, or what I would think, if I had told a student who wanted to work in Accenture and she never reached out to me. So I gave my email and she never reached out to me. What would I think? I would think that I wasn't very serious about working in Accenture, actually. And it also comes back to what you actually want. It's not about you proving me that I think you want to come into Accenture. It's more about you proving yourself. Do you actually want to work in a consulting company? Do you actually want to learn technology? And would you enjoy it? And or fundamentally, do you want to stay and work here? And do you want to build your professional life in this country? Is it what you really want? So you need to, I think, if you really wanted it, and if the checklist is there that you must do to get a job, and one of the checklists is on the top there, contact them on LinkedIn. If you hadn't done that priority one checklist, and that would show to yourself that you don't want it, actually want it. So I think rather than you trying to prove other people that you want it, I just ask yourself, do you actually want it? And it is just a message, Mike. In the end, it's just a nice email, and they might ignore it. And what would that harm you? They might not even remember you, but if you wanted enough, you'd message them. And I think that's what people should do. Especially, it's more important because in COVID, there's no networking opportunity, and if you don't have information, you would miss some events. So there are still like online networking events, but if you hadn't known that, you might miss it. So to compensate that, I think it's more important that you message them directly. Or that would be the case that if they know somebody from HR, they'll direct you to them. Also, contact this person, they know more. And that's the way you can build relationship as well. And actually try out every single way that you can do. That shows the interest that you want to really work in the company, because you'll be really amazed that no one actually messages them directly. Yeah, no one does that actually, at least yet, unless that becomes the norm to directly message people working there. But they don't. So usually you don't know people's direct email. So the only way is in LinkedIn, actually. Yeah. To talk to them.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And finally, just my last question, just to round off what's been a really informative session. We've covered lots of different things, lots of great information. Is there any kind of book or program or course? I know we've discussed different things over the time that we've known each other, and especially recently. Anything that you want to recommend that you feel has been very helpful, very transformative for your journey, whether that be in the past or right now?
I might have read all the books about female leaders. I wanted, at some point of my life, I always wanted to be a leader and then make positive changes in this world. And like Michelle Obama's Becoming, and other big female figures book, such as like Facebook's CIO or CDO. So I think she's a very famous person. I forgot her name, but
Oh, Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook COO,
yeah,
who wrote Lean In. Yeah.
yeah, Lenin. That's the book I read, and recently I read something about the fear, how to use your fear or control the fear, how to overcome the fear, and Atomic Habits. That one I recently read. David Goggins, Don't Hurt Me, because
Oh, lovely. Yeah, great book.
yeah, yeah, and the Aunt Middleton's First Man In. So I read those books more and more these days. Um, I think having the constant battle with myself, facing my own fear, especially actually going back to English, the most basic fear of me is making no mistake while I'm speaking English or while I'm writing. And I don't know why it's always lingering. I think it's just because I'm a foreigner, and still, even though I might have better level of English than any like people who didn't go university maybe in the UK. However, it's something that native people can catch, but I cannot. So I still have the fear, and I think until I get to the point of like breaking point that I'm actually above it, I will still face that fear. And so I read a lot about how to deal with your own fear, and how to like manage your habits or build your habits so that you can manage that fear. I am not there yet, but I am reading a lot around that area so that I can make myself become a better person, and in the future become a better leader. But one thing I found out is that there are not enough books about us, for example, someone just like me, um, coming from not very like coming from um I come from a bit less than middle class background. So I had a single mom who brought my sister and myself up, and there are not enough representation someone like me, and who had built profession in another country and in a prestigious company. There is, like I said, we lack mentors and we lack books about that those kind of group of people. Because when people reach my level, or when people become a CEO of the company or a managing director, they wouldn't write a book about themselves. All they want to do is now having a comfortable life, and they're quite happy. Maybe they have children, they're busy, and they don't have any time to mentor other people, which is really fair enough. But I didn't still find a book where I can resonate myself to them, as so that I can feel what they felt and I can grow from it, or I can learn from the experience. We lack that figure, or we lack that book that should be there, I would say, because I still haven't found the perfect book. Because, for example, like Lean In, she's coming from quite affluent background, even though she had a most difficult situation, circumstances in her life, and I really do feel for her what she had to go through. But and also Michelle Obama, she was like partner, I think, in the law firm. I need to correct myself. I need to check it later, but she was up in up in the ladder, even though she was coming from middle class background. So there's no one like me, um, who is Asian and coming from foreign country, and had to do all by herself and achieve it in the end, and still in the course of achieving what's great, uh, what is better for herself. And having no figure like that, having no book to read like that, I think the only channel is communicating like this. That's why I decided to come here and also talk, because I'm passionate. I know what's missing right there, and it shouldn't be missing. But I think it's especially about being humble, as a like in my culture, that we don't talk about what you achieved, and we don't talk uh, like in public, because it's shown as not being humble when you should be. So the more you achieve, the more quiet you should become, which I do think there is a virtue there. But since having nobody written anything about it and having no figure, that is still something that we should fill the gap. I think as Asian woman actually, because if you had representation, you know that what you can achieve, and you know that in the end you can get there because somebody else did it. And it sounds quite simple, but you must have that kind of figure. You must have that, because without it, you don't even know that woman can get there. And I wish that we had more and more people coming from my background or my culture or my side of globe and talking about their experience and sharing and helping and mentoring people a bit more. I think they should be more encouraged, and even though they get busy, I think they should maybe feel the sense of responsibility in sharing and encouraging young women who are coming from same background actually. Yeah, I wish it's more there. I wish what we do right now flourishes more in the future and continues, and more people will join to encourage each other.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks so much, Lauren, for everything that we've covered, and thank you for your time. And I really wish you the best of luck with your upcoming, because you're doing your LPC, and also with your applications as well. And I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share my experience, Mike. Thank you.
If you like this video, click like, drop us a comment, and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified whenever we release videos.